I'm going to quote you, Dion. Kentucky might be dead.
Yeah.
Bama won this game in blowout fashion. They may have won it in blowout fashion anyway, but it was tight in the first half, even after Otega Owe got rocked in the face. And then Kentucky just kind of didn't have enough after that.
The Ortega thing was crazy to me. I sent a text to our like sleepers basketball group chat where we decide like the previews and recaps we're all gonna record, and I'll get my exact words because this was like the
Please,
most instant reaction I had
please
for
do.
anything. I said, "Dog, Owe looked like he just went 12 rounds with Tank Davis, and Phylon shrugged his shoulders like he did nothing." And then I responded by saying I may have been wrong about Bama. That was a special play for a few reasons. That was the most ludicrous thing I've ever seen a player do what LeBaron Philon did. Like he literally, like he pretty much knocked this individual out, and then he shrugged his shoulders, look at the rest, like what's wrong with him? There's blood all over the ground. Like the camera panned to Owe, his hand, just blood all over.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Phylon's like, huh? Like, what happened? Always a dog for taking that hit and getting back up. Phylon is an insane person for saying he did nothing. And I love both parties. I got to be honest. So I think it's unfortunate. I do think Kentucky might be dead. One thing we don't do we don't plan the funeral without bringing the body, though. So we're not planning the funeral here. Body's still alive. Also, shout out my dog Cal. We also don't bring the casket without the nails. Shout out Undertaker. Dong. You know what I mean? Like, so like we're not burying Kentucky by any means, but they might be dead, and it's not their fault. There's a lot of injuries. I really hope people don't pile on them and try to pretend Mark Pope wasn't the best coach in college basketball this season.
Yeah.
Because I think the job he did, he had the most difficult job in college basketball to follow up John Calipari, to get the job late, to have to rebuild a complete roster. And then subsequently, I don't care what happens in the tournament, he had a better year than Calipari. And you know, Calipari did it with the timing he did because he knew he was bringing his guys, and it was kind of like, good luck. And Mark Pope said, cool, I got you. So I do think the narrative might wind up being a little unfortunate for Kentucky fans, but Kentucky fans never fear. Ralph and I are here to make sure that the narrative stays the way it should be.
Yeah. I think it's important to remember that no matter what happens with Kentucky moving forward, you are basically missing a starting lineup.
Yes.
Owe seems like he's probably going to play in the tournament, I would assume, considering that he played 21 minutes in this
Right.
game.
He's fine.
But he may not be the same kind of aggressive guy that he was the last 3 weeks of the season.
If he isn't, I'm out on no way. You get a little boo
Well,
boo, and
right.
all of
Like
a
they
sudden you're
they they
massive.
need that, but I wouldn't blame him if he's like, perhaps a little bit concussed or has some repercussions from everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I'm not going to, like you said, hold it against them. I think if you're a Kentucky fan, you should feel really good about the direction your program is headed. Next year becomes a big year with the freshman class and everything like that, but you feel good about where you're at right now. And you feel better now than I think you did this time last year. And I say that as
Yeah,
somebody who picked Kentucky to win the national championship last year, which yikes. But let's talk about Bama because Bama did win this game. They blew it open late, but they were, in control even well before that. What did they do well that allowed them to be in control of this one,
um,
other than breaking Otega Owe's face?
I was gonna say, I mean, knocking an individual out typically helps. I do want to preference for all Kentucky fans when I said it would be soft if he's passive. I didn't think about the possibility of a concussion. That's a football injury to me. It definitely happens in basketball, but this brain can't compute stuff across multiple sports. So that's on me. But I mean, let's see here. 11 to 29 from three. I wanted to make sure I had the number correct. That was the difference. They actually made shots for once. And 38% isn't some phenomenal team percentage, but it is for Bama, regardless of what Bama fans want to think. 38% is phenomenal for them. It's the Wade Taylor effect, as I like to call it. We would love to be at that percentage. I also just feel like they came out the gates very aggressive. They attacked the rack. They got out in transition. They knew Kentucky didn't have a point guard,
Mhm.
and you could kind of see them pressing. Like they were guarding people about a step or two over the half court line. They were trapping very early in possessions. They were getting out and running. They knew they were more athletic. They knew they were more talented, and they knew Kentucky was undermanned, and they didn't let Kentucky get out the gates. And I think when you're going against a team as undermanned as in Kentucky, you take them and you suffocate them early, and you don't let them get momentum. There was only like one moment in the game where I feel like Kentucky had momentum. I think is it Colin Chandler hit a three to cut it to 14-12. That's how early in the game I felt like Kentucky had momentum.
Kentucky turned the ball over 16 times, led to 29 points for Alabama. Kentucky only got 6 points off 10 Bama turnovers. Bama also got 44 points from the bench compared to 9 for Kentucky. Like you look at two areas that are major differences. Those are your two areas where the major difference was had. Bama's now advancing to face off against Florida in the SEC semis. Um, that's a banger of a game, man. That's a banger of a game. We just saw that 10 days ago, and it was very tight, very close. I expect it to be the same way again. We have a full preview for that on the channel, so go check that out. Make sure you like and subscribe as well.